What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video, and this is a video that I am very excited for. It's been a hot minute, as I would say, since I have done a wrestling fantasy booking video, and the card that we're booking today is a first-time event in AEW. So AEW is slowly, I can't even say slowly, fastly expanding their pay-per-view calendar. They've added All In this year. Last year they added Forbidden Door. Now this year they're adding another show titled WrestleDream. The show is in honor of the late, great Antonio Inoki. Now I will say this. I've tried to do my due diligence and to not be a casual, so I try to look up the importance of WrestleDream and look at other WrestleDream cards, but I struggle to find it because a lot of it is like saying, oh, AEW has added WrestleDream. So I don't know much about New Japan or just WrestleDream shows of prior years. That being said, it has been said that this card, this year, will have several New Japan talent on it. Problem is, New Japan has that show that day, and I went through the show, and almost all the matches are multi-man tag matches, so I don't know who from New Japan will exactly be competing on this card, but I did notice two big names that were not on the New Japan show that I have booked on my own version of WrestleDream. But before I get into my show that I would suggest for WrestleDream 2023, I will mention the people that will not be on the show. I say this every time because I just feel that I go through and say the matches, and then someone thinks in their head, how did he not have this person on the show? Again, now that AEW is expanding their pay-per-views and looking to have more, there's probably going to be more shows and more opportunities, but also kind of less opportunities. I know that made no sense, but it's just not everybody's going to be featured. There's a lot of people that weren't on All Out. There's a lot of people that weren't on All In, and they were very pissed about it. So hopefully it is understandable, and I also have reasoning for some of them. So the notable names not on the show. The Acclaimed, I don't really have a reason for it. I don't know. The trios division is weird because it just feels like all the trios that are out there and we know are trios have already been trios champion, or they've constantly challenged for the trios title. So I don't really know of a legitimate group to challenge for the trios championships. Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Ricky Starks. I know three big names. They delivered three stellar matches at All Out, but in the case of Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy, they're after and even in the build to All Out, they're yeah, we are beat the hell up. We need to take a break. Even though Darby just wrestled this week on Dynamite and is going to wrestle tonight on Collision, and Orange Cassidy's yeah, I guess I'll continue wrestling. Then Ricky Starks was in probably the most brutal match at All Out against Bryan Danielson. Next two names out on the show, Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. They don't really want to be on the show. They just want to hold the championship. They don't really need a matchup, so that's why. And then last is Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida. I do have two women's matches on the show, but it seems that these two women have been teasing some kind of, they like each other, but then they don't like each other. Going into the match, they do their fist bump, and also it's been weird that they've been lumped as a tag team / trio all of a sudden, but maybe they could, I would suggest, if I had one more match I could add, I would definitely add Britt Baker or Hikaru Shida, especially because in their rivalry, I believe they are tied 1-1, because there's the match where Shida broke Britt's nose, and then there was a match where Britt won the championship, and I don't think they've ever had that straight-up third match. So whenever they do have that match, it will be a big deal. And it could have been on this card, but I opted not to. So now, get on to this card. It is 13 matches long. 3 on the 0 hour, 10 on the main card. Let's get right into it. This first matchup is pretty nuts, and you're probably oh my god, why is this on the 0 hour? But it's just I'm trying to load this crap up. The Young Bucks versus Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews. Now, I know in the House of Black, Malachi Black and Brody King are the tag team, but I feel that Buddy Matthews better fits this matchup. All four men have kind of the same style in ring, and I have a big match for Brody King on the main card, so that's why he's mainly not on this. But I just feel that I said in my all-in predictions, I'm would be upset with the House of Black losing the trios titles because they were one of my favorite things in AEW, but with them losing, hopefully it opens more opportunities for all three of them, whether it be in trios, but mainly in 2-on-2 tags or even in singles. So this is that suggestion as they go against one of the top teams in AEW. And with the Young Bucks, I don't really know what the hell they're going to do. I imagine they're going to face FTR again, but I don't want them to rush and do it anytime soon, even though I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. But I kind of went a opposite route and did not do that. And I suggested a dream matchup in my eyes. Next, for the TBS Championship, Chris Statlander defending against Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue. This matchup is going to be very similar to the women's title match that is on the main card, but Chris Statlander, since winning the TBS Championship, has had open challenges, and Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue are kind of worthy contenders. They just won on ROH the other day because I reviewed it. I know that. They have a winning streak in AEW, but I feel this is kind of like both Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue are friends, and they're like, you can have the opportunity. No, you can have the opportunity. And then Chris Statlander, who's a defending champion, you're like, you can both have the opportunity. And like I said, it's going to be very similar to what I have for the women's title match, but we'll get to that when I get to that. And the last match for the 0 Hour, a number one contenders match. The winners facing FTR on this card. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus 2.0. Now, a bit of breaking the fourth wall. I had another team involved in this match, and it was Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus Proud and Powerful. But after Rampage tonight, Mike Santana's like, yeah, I'm going on my own. I'm just going to be a singles competitor. So I'm like, well, I do have a replacement team. That being 2.0. Now, another breaking fourth wall. I hate booking the same matchups on these cards, and I suggested FTR versus Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara at All In, which was months ago when I suggested that. And this Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara thing is still going on and most likely will continue to go on, even though they're like, yeah, we want to be tag team champions, but we also want to beat each other up. So the main reason I'm saying this, and if you notice, I don't suggest who I want to win these matches. I would have 2.0 win. I would rather see 2.0 versus FTR. So main moral of the story, no more contenders match, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus 2.0. It also kind of can wrap up the Jericho Appreciation Society breaking up, because they did, but they still all hang out. They just don't hang out with Chris Jericho, and Sammy Guevara hangs out with Chris Jericho. It's just a weird storyline that's going on. So that is it for the 0 Hour. And as I alluded, the first match on the main card that I'll talk about, tag team title match, FTR versus winners of Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus 2.0. Like I said, I'd suggest 2.0. Because FTR, the top tag team in AEW, you got to have them on the card. Next, now, as I mentioned, this show should be, I would say, heavy on New Japan related things, but that's going to be a definite struggle going on. But the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship is held by a member of the AEW roster, and that being Eddie Kingston. He just defended it on Dynamite last week. I don't think it was this week. I think it was last week. I ain't gonna lie, it all kind of blends in together. And I suggest that Eddie Kingston defend this championship against Brody King, a big hoss battle, as AEW fans would say, a meat match. I didn't really want to say that, but I feel that's kind of a hot topic to say or suggest. But I just feel this would be a very good match. Next, another dream match that it slightly bothers me because this match has happened. I Googled it. But in AEW, it hasn't. And in general, I feel with it being on this show, it'd be a bigger deal than when it once happened. This being the Hardy Boys versus the Lucha Brothers, two legendary brother tag teams. I just feel this would be a great match to see all around. Next, this is kind of a storyline that just slowly started, and it kind of, I don't know when it exactly will end or even really start. It just like, it was teased this week on Dynamite. That being Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland. Since, I don't know, Hangman Page is kind of on his own now because we haven't seen him with the Elite in a couple of weeks, but it's just like the Elite are kind of doing their own things. And Swerve Strickland's like calling Hangman Page out. He's like, you don't really do anything anymore. Why are you like still here? Give me the opportunity. So this would be a big opportunity for Swerve on a pay-per-view to have a singles match against one of AEW's all-time performers. Now, I only really said that because he has been a world champion, He's been a tag team champion. Can't really argue with that name I just gave him. Now, this is probably the craziest match that I am suggesting. It's also the least likely match, I feel. Bullet Club Gold versus La Facción Ingobernables. Now, the main reason I say that is because La Facción Ingobernables haven't really appeared. We've seen these backstage promos setting up their return, and I ain't seen Andrade in a hot minute. I don't think we've seen Andrade since the ladder match on Collision, but also the La Facción Ingobernables promos have been on Collision. So I imagine the whole group will reunite. I also just realized I haven't even said who the hell they're going against. But La Facción Ingobernables versus Bullet Club Gold, an 8-man tag. We've seen at All Out, Bullet Club Gold are just an 8-man tag. Tonight on Collision, they're in an even crazier 8-man tag. I don't remember who. I know it's Metalik, Aerostar, Drago, and I believe Gravity. I think I got them all right off the top of my head. So I just feel, and also, like I said, these are two, mainly Collision groups. The two top groups on Collision, because CMFTR is not a thing anymore. Ha ha ha. So I just feel this would be a great collision for these Collision groups. Next, for the women's world title, or women's title, Saraya versus Toni Storm versus Ruby Soho. Almost every time I talk about the women's division in AEW, I complain, but I feel that is kind of the case with a lot of AEW fans. It just sucks because we haven't really had a straight up one-on-one match in a while. I know Chris Statler and Ruby Soho did, but there's not really a story there. And then over the past couple of weeks, it's just been multi-tag matches or fatal 4-way matches. Like this week on Dynamite, it's a fatal 4-way. And I know I'm being very hypocritical because the two matches I suggested are triple threat matches, but at least there was some story there. We haven't really had a story in the women's division except for this one. It involves the Outcast. And again, I was not really a big fan of the Outcast. I don't know many people that were a big fan of the Outcast, but we're slowly seeing the tease and dissension between the group, and I would have it descend here. Also, last complaint, I don't really want to see Saraya with the Women's Championship. She's already won it. I was mainly hella mad when Sheeta lost it All In because I'm like, she just won the freaking title and now she lost. And now it's kind of the case if Saraya loses, I'm going to have to say the same thing. She just won it All In. Now she's going to lose again. It's a win if you lose. Win. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. I don't want to cuss, but I did anyways. Next, the second craziest match that I suggested on here. The United Empire, including Will Ospreay and Aussie Open, versus the Blackpool Combat Club's John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. Again, several head-scratching things here. Now, Will Ospreay, unless my eyes deceived me, but I triple-checked, is not involved on the New Japan show on this day. And he is currently the IWGP US Champion, but he is rebranded as the UK Championship. It's a prestigious title now, especially to him. He's rebranded on his own. And John Moxley just won the International Championship, one of the hottest championships in wrestling in general, just because of the constant weekly defenses. Now, you're probably wondering, why didn't you have Moxley defend it here? That's what I'm just saying. Moxley just defended it on Dynamite. He's defending it tonight on Collision. He's going to continuously be defending the championship. At some point, he doesn't have to. But the story mainly I'm aligning here is that Will Ospreay cherishes his UK championship. He thinks it's more prestigious. John Moxley thinks his international championship is more prestigious. Now, here's the thing. When I did my How I'd Book Forbidden Door fantasy booking, I kind of was playing with a bit of realism because I was like, in reality, we probably won't see these Dream AEW versus New Japan matches because both companies are weary of having their person lose. So in this case, this would be an exact example because on one side, you got one company's champion, and on the other side, you got another company's champion. So having this as a straight-up match would be crazy. That's probably what the fans would rather suggest. But in reality, I don't think that. And also, I think adding two tag teams into the mix makes it crazy, and more realistic option. So Will Ospreay and Aussie Open versus John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. I will also say, I was like, John Moxley versus Hook and like a title unification, international title versus FTW title. But I needed something for Will Ospreay, and I just kept coming back to this off the top of my head. Now, the other New Japan talent that I did not see on the New Japan show that I have involved on this show, Zack Sabre Jr. I will say this. I review ROH every week, obviously. Please check the reviews out. Zack Sabre Jr. competes more on ROH than he does actual AEW. I think in actual AEW he's had like 2 to 3 matches, where in ROH he's at least had 4 to 5, but it's not like a big number. But a match that we were supposed to see at Forbidden Door last year, a dream matchup that I think happened many years ago. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson. We just saw Danielson return at All Out, and this is kind of like, hey, I've been waiting for this moment. Let's take it and seize it at this big show. Now, again, this is the last time I want to mention ROH. ROH Tag Team Title Match. MJF and Adam Cole versus Roderick Strong and a mystery partner. Now, I imagine MJF versus Samoa Joe, like this whole beef that we're seeing going on, is going to be wrapped up at Grand Slam, which it is actually crazy that like we get Grand Slam and like WrestleDream and like so close together, and like they're still as close as All In and All Out were. So, I don't know what the hell's going to happen at Grand Slam, but I don't think nothing like dramatically would happen that would affect this card. So, the main thing is, I think this beef that MJF and Samoa Joe got going on will probably be long done with prior to WrestleDream. Now, who do I suggest this mystery partner be for Roderick Strong? Kyle O'Reilly. I have no clue where Kyle O'Reilly is. I know he's hurt. I know I've wished to see Kyle O'Reilly compete again. I hope he is able to compete again. But I hope, in general, for the best for his health, obviously. But at some point, I feel he's going to come back and it's going to be a big shock. Now, I don't hate the MJF-Adam Cole pairing, but I would much rather see the Undisputed Era, I'm not calling them the Undisputed Elite, reunite. I've been asking for this and asking for this and asking for this. And after All In, I'm like, we probably are not going to see that. But we haven't seen Kyle O'Reilly even in the mix. It's mainly just been Roderick Strong and the Kingdom. Now you're probably wondering, well, you just threw the Kingdom to the curb. I watch ROH every week. They're trying to add members to the Kingdom. At some point, Mike Bennett and Matt Taylor are going to have to go back to ROH, and I don't want to see Roderick Strong in the Kingdom. He was never associated with it. I don't want to see him involved in the Kingdom. So they can go back to ROH. I know that kind of sounds harsh, but they got a story going on outside of this that they ain't even paid attention to. Also, an ROH note, I know ROH lore is Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. I don't see Bobby Fish coming back to AEW because he was not well received last time around, but I got no problem with Bobby Fish. I love Bobby Fish. But Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly in NXT were the crazier tag team when they competed, and bringing them over to ROH/AEW, I feel would be a big deal. But the main part of this is I feel the only chance of the Undisputed Era like actually reuniting is based on Kyle O'Reilly. Because Kyle O'Reilly could come in and like knock the sense into Adam Cole, where Roderick Strong, he's been yelling, Adam, for weeks and weeks, and it hasn't gotten through to him, where Kyle O'Reilly might be able to do that. And with Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly being the tag team champions, it would kind of solidify something. I almost said signify. Solidify something. So that is probably I said this is the second craziest match I have suggested. But now we are on to the main event matchup. I have a stipulation for this match. There's one that I'd rather see, but I changed it. But Kenny Omega versus Konosuke Takeshita in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I originally suggested a 30-minute Iron Man match, but I did forget about Bryan Danielson and MJF having a 60-minute Iron Man match, and it's not. I feel that since we've already seen a 60-minute Iron Man match, a 30-minute Iron Man match wouldn't have the same lore. So we've seen Konosuke Takeshita just beat Kenny Omega at All Out. Technically, I don't like considering the All In one because it's a multi-man match, but he beat him there as well. But Kenny Omega needs to have that comeback and become the best bout machine again, and he needs to get these victories over Konosuke Takeshita, and if he's able to do it twice in the same night, it would kind of solidify something. It also would wrap up this whole rivalry that we've been seeing, because it's one of the actual stories that are in AEW that have been continually going on for months now, and this would finally wrap it up, and that is the end of how I would book AEW WrestleDream 2023. If you have any problems or complaints, please let me know. But if you like what I said in this, please also let me know. Just so you know, let me know what you think about this whole video. Hopefully, you stay safe. Hopefully, you tune in on videos. I've made a lot of freaking videos this week. I made a video talking about CM Punk and AEW. I made a video talking about Gunther breaking the IC title reign. I made a video with my NFL Week 1 predictions, which is the same video as the Gunther video. I made an ROH TV review, and I made my Green Bay Packers franchise, episode 3, and then I just made this one. I'm taking tomorrow off, which is, again, another fourth wall break. I'm feeling this Friday night, late Friday night, so it's still Friday night to me, but it's technically Saturday. Sunday, I ain't doing nothing but watching NFL games. That is what I am hooked to do, so there ain't going to be no video Sunday. But hopefully you can catch up on those videos. And if not, watch the NFL games, Go Pack Go. So, again, everyone stay safe. Thank you for watching this video. And I'll see you in the next one.